let's transition over into the NFL, where there was a form of football played last night in the Hall of Fame game.
Yep.
This is the worst football game all year, and it's the very first one. These guys are in camp 2 weeks early. Nobody fucking wants to be at camp. You have two teams that have not had that much time in camp, and now we also have two teams that are bringing a quarterback back from a devastating injury, and a team that is trying to integrate a new offense.
Yeah.
It was a shit show.
Hall of Fame games, they're always, my Vikings have played in them and stuff like that, and I'm excited for it. But realistically, it's just kind of a bullshit game. It's another opportunity for injuries and everything, and because it's so publicized, televised, I think you get a little bit less out of it. But, the focus for the coaches have to be, it's a preseason game. This is to implement some of our plays and everything against an actual opposing team, not just our scout team, see what we got. And it was, for all intents and purposes, sounded pretty rough last night. You've got, like you were alluding to, the Steelers. They've got new coordinator Canada. Don't remember his first name. And he was implementing a new offense for Pittsburgh. Sounded, I don't want to say necessarily gimmicky, but, a lot of pre-snap motion, things like that, which ended up resulting in a fumble because of all the motion that was happening. Sounds like Pittsburgh left some players in a lot longer than they were expecting. Yeah. Usually in those first preseason games, you're going to see next to no starters almost, unless it's fringe guys that are really trying to fight for that one spot versus the backup role. And those guys were playing into the second quarter, which is a little bit unusual. And I like to have the starters go out there and get at least a series, and not even necessarily in the first game. But you had Chase Claypool, which was one of their best draft picks here out there in the second quarter, and then he leaves with an injury. Now it sounds like it's nothing. Maybe the wind knocked out him or something like that because he landed on the football after a big catch, but. Do you want to risk that? Do you want to risk losing to Chase Claypool right from the get-go? I don't really want that.
No. So I thought it was – the offense – neither offense looked good. Big Ben doesn't play, as he shouldn't have played. Najee was into the second quarter. He didn't look good while he was in. He had 3.1 yards per carry. I'm gonna equate that to new offense, new system. Najee's a rookie. He should be okay, but 3.1 yards per carry does not look good. Claypool had the one big catch, but also gets hurt on the play, and this is also in the second quarter. I don't understand. I know they need to put their system in play, right? This needs to get done. They have got to work out something. But this is the Hall of Fame game. Both of these teams have 4 preseason games. Every other team is going to have 3. These two teams got shit on and have to do 4 because they're in the Hall of Fame game. They cut one of those preseason games off. Why? You have more time. You definitely do not need Najee, Claypool playing into the second quarter.
Yeah.
Not looking effective as it is. Playing with quarterbacks who didn't look terrible, I guess, but they're going up against guys that are not making the team. This Hall of Fame game is littered with people who are not making this team.
Let's be real. Mason Rudolph was playing. Dwayne Haskins was playing, and it doesn't sound like either of them made any major jumps from the previous year. You still have Mason Rudolph, strong arm, and he's kind of shit everywhere else in between. Yeah. And then Dwayne Haskins just can't hit the side of a barn door. He's overthrowing people, things like that.
By all accounts, the best looking quarterback was Dobbs.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've liked Dobbs as a backup guy before, but he's never going to go out there and be your starter. No. And that's the point, is that those are the type of guys that probably should be in the game. You're looking at your fringe second or third stringers, guys that aren't going to make the roster, but you want to see who they are, if maybe you've got a diamond in the rough.
This game is a chance for a lot of guys at the bottom of the roster who are not making this prospective team to put something good on tape so other teams can see it and maybe bring you in.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it's a lot for the coaches too. Get the butterflies out of the coach's stomach. Let them implement their offense as far as a play calling perspective and things like that. But it's less for the players at this point in a sense of really learning the offense. That's you're getting the majority of that out of practice.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was kind of weird seeing those guys play that late in the game, but
Yeah, very weird, very weird. I don't know why they would do it unless there's real. This kind of just tells me that they got some problems right now in Pittsburgh.
I mean, they're weeks and weeks away from this working for them.
Yeah,
They need a lot more practice. So
they need a lot more. But on the opposite side of the ball, Cowboys, Micah Parsons looks fantastic. Flying around the field. He ends up with that fumble recovery because of the botch snap with all the extra motion that Pittsburgh's trying to run. By all accounts, he looks fantastic. The Cowboys got a damn good linebacker to kind of help solidify that linebacker room that has been hurt so much over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And they definitely needed to shore up that defense. So
yeah, so Parsons, I think I don't know if anyone was really questioning that he was going to be a stud coming into the league.
I mean, everybody kind of knew it.
Watching his film breakdown and stuff before the draft, it was like, this guy's just an easy first-round pick. He's going to be a stud at linebacker. There's really not a whole lot of question to it. He's like one of those locks. So to see him perform this well in, his first NFL action, albeit, the Hall of Fame game, wasn't really surprising to me. It's good for the Cowboys. It's kind of proud of the guy. I guess he was on close to like a 10 tackle pace before halftime, which is exactly what you're expecting from a stud linebacker like that.
Yep.
So happy for him, happy for the Cowboys, and then you have the kind of low hanging fruit of Packers. Excuse me. I can't help but think about that.
You were going to take a shot at somebody, and Packers immediately came to mind.
The Cowboys are in midseason form, losing a football game.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. They scored 3 points.
Yep.
3 points.
But they also were playing way less of their starters.
That is very true.
So it's preseason. I never hold any of those scores or anything to the team. I rarely take anything from the practices when you get all those reports of this person's looking really good in practice or this person's looking really good in practice. Well, it is practice. That's where players are supposed to go and work out and iron out their issues. They should be showing you their worst parts of them in practice, so that way it's not in the game.
That reminds me of that the Richard Sherman tape where he got absolutely torched in training camp, and people were like, "Oh, Richard Sherman's lost it. Richard Sherman's lost it. He can't do it no more." And then everybody comes to find out, no, Richard was trying a new technique to see if he could get it down to help make him better. He went on and had a Pro Bowl season that year.
Yeah,
it means nothing. These practices.
You got to take it all with a grain of salt. Yeah. All with a grain of salt. Now, when you're looking at individual playing technique in the actual preseason games, that's really what I'm looking for. That's why, preseason for most people, your average NFL fan, is pretty boring because you are watching second and third stream teams, and people are just like, what's the score? What's the score at the end of the game?
I mean, who gives a shit?
I get very invested and very involved with individual players, especially draft picks from this current season or previous season who are kind of taking more of that normal developmental path of an NFL player where they don't just jump in and start and become a star. You want to see them grow, learn the position, learn how to become an NFL player. So I like to actually, if I can, record the game or have some sort of a replay capability, go back and watch those individual position groups and individual positions. I like seeing the defensive linemen grow and learn, their different moves. I like watching how cornerbacks will learn from one play to another, how to, recover from, not playing the receiver correctly, things like that. And you can actually see some of these players in real time grow from even just one preseason game to another. And it's really cool for me to watch that. That's where I nerd out about football, is watching those preseason games and the development of guys that I want to become invested in, because I'm always a underdog, like rooting for the underdog. So if I can find that guy that's an undrafted free agent on the team or a 6th round pick, and I was like, liking this guy before they came to the team or in the draft, and now I can kind of attach myself to him and be like, yeah, that's my guy. He's doing good. That's always fun for me.
Yeah. So when I'm watching a preseason game, I'm very much I'm looking for the rookies, and then there's always a couple of guys that you just know from maybe a year prior, 2 years prior. Like, man, we got this guy in the fifth, sixth round. Um, hey, we got this undrafted free agent. Nobody knows why he went undrafted, but we decided to go out, sign him, and we give him a bunch of guaranteed money. I want to see those guys perform. I don't necessarily need them to go and show out. I want to see how they work in the system, especially on that offensive or defensive line, right? I want to see a guy who understands his responsibilities, and if he makes the play, fantastic. But guys at that level, right, they're not going to be starters. They're not. You want a rotational guy. You want a guy who comes in and he knows exactly what his job is. He does his job, and if he makes the spectacular play, great. If not, you're in the position that you're supposed to be in. That's all I care about for those guys. When your star players go out of the game, you don't replace him with a star player. I wish it was that way, but it's not. You need a guy who can literally just come in and do the job. Do your job. Take your care of your gap or your responsibility. But a lot of times you'll see guys in these preseason games don't know where they're supposed to be, and then you're like, okay, well that guy's getting cut. If you don't know where you're at on the field, if you don't know where your responsibility is on the field, game over. Doesn't matter how physically gifted you are. You have to play within a system, and those are the things that I'm looking for when I'm watching a preseason game.
Absolutely, 100%. The physical traits are great, but it's got to be able to be put out there on the field. So.